I have an idea how they might have built these Inca stone walls which have these interlocking perfect fit stones. So here is how the theory goes in a nutshell. First they got a rough shape of the wall they wanted, so that the wall was on one stone at the rock quarry, still attached to the bedrock. So they just carved out a section like this. Then they split the huge rock wall into little rocks by manipulating the open face of the rock. Methods like fire setting, wood water method, or copper wedge in holes might have been used. So they just manipulated this side of the wall to cut section out of it. Then, when it was all sectioned, this method left them with perfectly interlocking individual rocks, which they then transported to the building site where they got their final finish, after which the wall was contracted again. So they just then took it apart, moved the little blocks, and then when they got to the place where they wanted the wall actually to be, they just constructed it again so that it was the same where it was in the quarry where they got it. And this theory predicts that the impurities in the rocks continue to the adjacent rocks since they were originally one rock. If obvious impurities do not continue to the adjacent rocks, then this theory has been disproven. Alright, so this is roughly the theory I put forward of how these Inca people built these walls. Alright, let's go now over the theory a bit more carefully. So, now that they are cutting the wall out of the rock, they might have just, like here in the bottom, they might have used some kind of chisel tools, and then they just carve into the rock this kind of thing. The what is it? Anyways, I cannot remember the word. Anyways, they cut it like this, so that this is here, and then they section this rock. This is the rock wall they want, and then they just take it out and you are left with the hole. And then if they wanted to cut more rocks, they could just cut here, you know. I don't know, do I have a pencil here? I think I have. Oh, I have a laser pointer. They could just cut here more rock, you know, like so. If they just wanted to section here, they could cut here. If they wanted some kind of different wall section, they could just take this, and then eventually you just left with nothing, you know. Obviously you would cut it like this if you would use this method, like so, and then you just, you know, take it out anyhow. Or they just could use this here way. They find some kind of wall which is already a wall, and they carve this section around the wall they want here, and then they section it and take it out, and you are left with the empty space here. And maybe they just take more stuff out of the same place, so that at the end it just disappears, the wall which was already there. Okay. Then how they could cut these things. So I mentioned that they could fire setting, use some kind of fire that it makes it cut, but there is in Machu Picchu, there are this kind of stone, like this exact stone, which has these markings that, let's see, can I use the pointer? These have these markings here, and it seems like they did use some kind of stone cutting, which first they just made these little things, and then they either used the board, put dry wood there, and then watered it so that it created pressure and cracked the rock. And maybe they did that together with the fire setting or something. Or maybe they just had some kind of metal tools like copper or bronze tools. I guess we don't know did they have them. But if they did have them, they could have easily made these. And then another thing about this, the stone walls itself here. The interlocking perfect fit stones aren't actually that deep. They aren't actually that thick, I would say. Since, as you see here, it's just this, that's not that deep if you compare to this person. And here especially, like usually how these go are that it's just the front cover. These perfect fitting stones are a front cover for the wall, and behind them is like a normal wall which is not interlocked. It's just poorer quality, if you might want. So this, the reality of the walls being constructed like this makes this method easier, since these blocks do not have to be so thick, since they don't go every time all the way through the wall. So it makes this theory, in my opinion, more plausible, more possible. And here is also an image of the same rock, and I guess there is another rock also which shows these features of it having these holes which you can use to split the rock. So regarding then when the stones were cut and we had the pieces which naturally are now interlocked, since they are just cracked from the adjacent rocks. So when they transport them, they will obviously go exactly into the places where they are, where they were. And here is an image pulled from Wikipedia. Here you can see the address for it, and in the image there is people in Nice in Indonesia moving a megalith to the construction site circle, and about 100 years ago they did this, I guess. Don't know, but seems like they could move a little bit super big boulder with just humans, with ropes and wood, without machinery or advanced technology. So this could be something similar how they moved these rocks to this place. And obviously they wanted to split them because they couldn't move all this wall as a one block because it was too big. Okay, then addressing some counter arguments or what people have pointed out, that can you cut a rock like that with a copper chisel? All right, this is what we are trying to explain. How did they cut these holes into the rock, and how did they carve the rock around the wall? So there is a video on YouTube, copper chisel against the rock, geologist against myths. And this address, I think he demonstrates to some extent that you can chisel hard rock with the copper tool. And then obviously you have the fire setting, which might help to break the rock. But additionally, we have this kind of book, the Stones of Tijuanaco, the study of architecture and construction. And in this book, in the page 199, it says that rough, unworked flakes of hard stones make excellent stone carving tools. So it's basically arguing that they were using rock to cut rock. And it says that only bronze tools could be considered because in their opinion, andesite stone is very hard to cut with basic copper tools and maybe even basic bronze tools. So they speculated that they would have needed to have some kind of bronze tool if they did not use just rock. But there is some texts which say that they had no other tools to work than stone, then they had no other tools to work. The stones, then some black stones, they call it kihuaha, which they then dress the stone by crushing it rather than cutting. So, but obviously it could be that there are like time periods between the Incas, and then there might have been some more ancient civilization which actually built these interlocking rocks. So maybe even if the Incas used some kind of rocks to cut rocks, maybe the previous people before them had some kind of copper or bronze tools which they used to chisel the bigger interlocking rocks or something. So, and here is a little info on the andesite rock. So its hardness is 7 and it's some kind of volcanic rock. So regarding this, I would think that if even with rock you can cut rock, then if they had copper, it could be that they could use the copper tools to cut the rock. And even if they had the bronze tools, then maybe even better. So then argument, why don't the rocks in the wall show cutting marks? Like if the rocks were cut like this, then you would expect these cutting marks to be in the wall. But the walls do not have these marks. So one would maybe ask why, if this is how they split them in the theory I put forward, then where are these marks? Alright, so let's think about this. Here is a block, and the yellow surfaces are now the interlocking surfaces, meaning that the surfaces which will go against another log which will have an other face which will complement this face. And now we have these wedges here which are marked on red, which are now in the original rock but not on the finished product. So what I'm theorizing they might have done is they might have just carved off the section of the rock where are these marks, because maybe they didn't look good or something. But also I would like to point out that in the Inca stones, some of these stones have these protrusions, which some argue that might have been used to move these rocks more easily, which is a good argument. I don't say it wouldn't be, but anyhow, this is also evidence for that they had to remove material from this rock, because you cannot chisel, you cannot add rock to a rock. So you have to create these by removing rock, which means that they have to do some kind of thing like this. And since if they are removing rock, they obviously might remove these little wedges here, which are left over from cracking the rock, the splitting the rock. And then while they are in the process of taking these out by making it thinner, they might just leave these things, bumps, these protrusions there, so that it's easier to move them, you know. Maybe that's what they did. But I think it is a clear evidence that they did remove material from the rock. Because how other way could you have these protrusions here? Don't know. Okay, then the next argument. Is there evidence of this in the quarry? Like, where did they cut this? Like I said previously, that I put forward this these theories that you would expect to see these in the quarry site. Like, if this is how they did it, then you would expect to see something like this, I guess, is the argument. So let's go and think about this a little bit. So here are some images of quarry sites, and I must say that these not all quarry sites look like this, but these are some. So it would seem like they have pretty good tools to cut rock, since they made a little pretty good cuts, and not go very much into the what are we looking at. But I would say that this place looks like if they are here, then they are here, but I don't think if you would use the method I explained, that there would be exact evidence for it, since they might have just taken a whole lot of rock out of one place, so that if they at the beginning took these walls out of the rock, then taking more rocks out of the same quarry might have destroyed the evidence of the wall being taken there. So, but some people also point out that there is a video on YouTube, main quarry of Machu Picchu, and I think it's accepted that this is the main quarry of it. So that meaning that they took natural stones, meaning that these stones are obviously came off from the rock, the bedrock, due to natural reasons, and then they just harvested them here. But I don't know, can you make the argument that they only use rocks from here, since maybe they also carved them from something else if they needed a bigger wall or something, who knows. But anyway, some people might then ask, how did they move these? No, maybe they moved them the same way these people moved these. So maybe they just bigger they more people they used, and they used strong wooden support structures. I would also like to point out that here in the Egypt there is an hieroglyph of the people moving a statue with human force. So I guess they moved it by pouring water in front of it to make the sand or whatever was under it wet, and then it just moved easier. So here is the address where you can find more information on this hieroglyph and where it was. But like, there are evidence that they actually moved this with human force. So then the next argument, the rocks are different colors. Alright, as you can see here is the Inca stone, and as you can see, like I said, that if the stones have impurities which do not continue to the abscission rock, then it would disprove my theory. But I don't think the coloring can be accounted for impurities in the rock, since maybe these rocks were painted. Who knows? Maybe they had paintings on these rocks at the beginning, and then raining and whatever watered them down, and now we have these. So how I think this, maybe they painted this, and as you can see, even they have rock art which is still present in some rocks, meaning that if they were painted long time ago, it could be that the paint is still present in the rocks and the coloring is from the paint, and not because the rocks would not be abscission rocks originally. Okay, that was the end of the presentation on this theory. Thanks for watching and bye.